Hello everyone. In this video, we will learn about array in JavaScript. Again, before going into the technical aspect of array in JavaScript, let's see the real world example where we would need array. But before I give you an example, just understand this statement, right? This would clarify a lot of things. So in one of our previous video, we learned about variables. So in that context, you can say that array is a special variable that can hold multiple values. So previously, a variable was holding a single value, but in terms of array, you can say that array is a special variable that can hold multiple values. Now let's see the example in the real world. So suppose you are studying in a class of 30 students. So if I ask you to store the names of each and every student of the class, what would you do? So by the approach, whatever we have learned so far, you could create say 30 variables. Student one, let student one, let student two, like this, you can create 30 variables. But the problem with this approach is, you'll have too many variables defined. So the better idea is to create a group where you have all these students in one particular variable. So array basically solves this problem. So if you see this diagram, right, it says, this is the structure. So basically, if you see here, right, it creates, say, a boxes of memory, and I have written here the contiguous memory location, meaning whatever you create, right, whatever how number of items you create, right, they would be allocated just next to each other. Okay, like example, if the memory location is say x, so it would be x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3, something like that. So another important thing, what I mentioned here is index. So basically, since it is a group or a continuous contiguous memory location, so you have to start from somewhere. So normally array starts from say zeroth index, and then like 1 2 3, the continuity is there. Okay, now here you can have on this space, right, the example which I was talking to you about, you can have say first student's name, then second student's name, third student names, fourth student name. So now you still have say four different memory locations, but you are using only one variable to hold these many memory locations. So that's what I mentioned when I was describing the definition of array. I told you that it's a special variable that holds multiple values. Okay, so if you see the total length of this array, right, it is 4 because there are 4 blocks, right? One, 2, 3, 4. So this is the index, and this part is for the value. So whatever value you give, for example, if you give here, say, John, or say maybe Tom, right? So all those those will become values, and these are the indices. So now let's see it with an example. So we have created a new file called as say array.js. So how do you define a variable normally? So let's take the student example one step ahead, and suppose you want to have this uh, list of superheroes, right? So you can have say hero one is Iron Man, then you can have another variable say hero two Captain America, say hero three, Thor, four. Now you see this is the problem, right? So when I ask you to create say list on all the superheroes or store the superheroes name, right, you're just keep on creating variable again and again with indexes 1 2 3 4, right? So the better solution for this approach, what you can do, right, instead of creating individual variable, what you can do, you can create a array, say superheroes. How do you normally create array in JavaScript, right? So not in JavaScript, right, almost all the languages, right, this is the syntax for array, like empty square bracket. So right now there's nothing in it, right? It's an empty thing. So if you basically try to do something like that, right, if you try to get the length of this one, I'll cover length later. So now let's see this, right? So now the same problem statement, what you can do, right? You can do like this, say Iron Man, then you can have, say, America, have Thor, you can have, okay. So instead of writing this, right, you can write this. So you can see it's better. It's one liner. You have a better control since there's one variable, right? Now another challenge is, so you've written this, right? But if you want to access the individual hero, right? How do you do that? So as I explained you in the diagram, that array supports the concept of index. So and the index always start from zero. So if you write like this, what would you get? So what is there on the zeroth index? If you see the on the zeroth index, because these are the index, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. So on the zeroth index, you'll get Iron Man. Similarly, if I ask you, so there's no need to access it sequentially. If you access, say, 3, what will you get? So this is again 0, 1, 2, 3. So on the third part, you'll get Black Widow. You won't get it with quotes. I'm just putting it like this. Okay. Now, array supports the property called as length. Okay. So if you write something like this, right, superheroes dot length, say, so what is the length here? So if you see, length is nothing but number of items that array contains. So array contains 1, 2, 3, 4. So the length in this case is 4. Now let's see one scenario, right? So you can always extend your arrays, right? It's not that, if you have declared it with, say, 4 items, you cannot extend it future in the future, right? So you can extend it, right? So if you write like this, says 4, and so you add something like, say, Hawkeye. Okay. And now if you write the same statement, say console.log superheroes.length, since you have added one item, so your length will become 5. Now let's see an interesting example. What if instead of writing, say, 5, instead of going sequential, you write something like 10, or say 10 here, right? So basically you are accessing the item on the 10th index, and you write like this, say, Loki. Okay. So what do you think, right? What would be the length here of your superheroes? So you might think that the length will become, say, because you already had 5 items, so you have added just one item, or you might think that you'll get an error because 10 does not exist. But I told you, right? It's extensible. JavaScript arrays are extensible, so it will never give you an error. Basically, it will assign something on the uh, 10th in index, right? And just remember, JavaScript arrays are zero based. Okay. So if you access like this 10, you will get Loki. Okay. But what happens when you write this? So you can guess what will happen. So in this case, it will happen. It will display 11. The reason is because you have added item on the 10th place, right? That's why you are getting 11 as the index, including the zeroth index. But the problem with this approach is, if you just put something which does not exist, or you just put you just skip the continuity, right? So what will happen in this case, right? I'll just tell you how your array gonna look like. So you remember, so you've created 4 variables, so then you added Hawkeye, say, here. So in the fourth you'll get Hawkeye. Oh, let me do this thing. Let me just print this and show to what how does your array look like. So you can just hit this and leave. Again, have that extension code runner. If you have that extension code runner, that's fine. If you don't have that extension, go ahead and download that extension. Okay, I have that already installed. So I'll just go here and I'll just click on F1. I'll run the code. So you see here, right? That's the problem. If you see the last statement, so you have Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and then you have Loki also. And if you see here, right, the length is 11, which I told you, right? The length would be 11. Now here, if you see, right, it says it has all the values plus it says there are 5 empty items. So basically, when you added something on the 10th index and you skipped from 5 to 9, you ended up adding 5 empty spaces from 5 to 9. So you have to be careful, when you do this thing. Now let's see one more thing, right? So we have learned about type of operator in one of our previous videos, right? So what if I write say type of superheroes, right? What do you think you'll get? So in this case you'll get object. So basically arrays, the data type of array is basically object. Again, you can verify, hit F1, you see it's object. So how do you verify, whether it's an object or whether it's an array? So with JavaScript provide you another method, says array dot is array. So you can always use this method to check whether whatever you have created is array or not. F1, run the code. You see it is true. Okay. And suppose you create something, say example, a simple variable, say a is equal to 19. Leave it. And if you try to use the same method on this new variable, you should get false. So F1, run your code. You see it's false. Okay. Now JavaScript array supports multiple functions, which you can use over it. But I think for this particular video, I'll keep it very simple and I'll explore uh, just two methods, like that is pop and push. So if you want to say add something to your existing array, for example, we already have an array which is of length 11. So if you use a method called as push, say you write the Batman. Okay. So this will basically push an item at the end. So if I again print console.log superhero, so you should see, and let me do one more thing. Let me also print the length to see how many items are added. So right now our length is 11. Okay, and you have pushed one item named as Batman using a push method. So you see the length has changed to 12 and Batman is added at the end. Okay, so whenever you use the push method, the new item will be added at the end of the array. Now there's another method called as pop. So pop method basically used to remove the last item. So you don't need to specify anything. So if you write pop, it will just remove the last item. So I've used pop, and let me just console and see what happens when I pop. So you see, the moment I write pop, the last item, the Batman which I added, right, it got removed. And again, if you repeat the same thing again, say instead of doing it one, you do it say twice, right? So first it will remove Batman and then it will remove Loki. Let's see. So ideally Loki should also get removed. So you see, in this example, Batman and Loki both got removed. So I think I'll stop here because there are other methods on array which we can use, but I'll cover that later because they're a bit advanced. So for this particular video, I think this is enough. If you've liked the video, please hit on the like button and subscribe. and stay tuned for the next videos. Thank you.